Welcome back to It's a Long Way Through. So I wanted to share this with you today. I received a phone call from a teacher, somebody ahead of me in an association that I belong to. And it was an interesting phone call. This gentleman is incredibly smart. He's earned a lot of respect, in my opinion. He served in the Marines. He's served for our country. He's got great moral character values, all that stuff. Just a nice guy too, hardworking man. But he's of a generation that's even older than me. He's in his 70s. And it's interesting, when he believes in something wholeheartedly, for an example, a definition of a word, he doesn't stop to consider other people's opinions. So for an example, 3-4 weeks ago, he called out my brother on a test board for using the word shihan in Japanese, which means or means master instructor. Generally, if you look up the definition of shihan, it would say master instructor. And he told my brother he was wrong for using it for that as that definition. And he went on to explain the definition of shihan means senior instructor. I didn't say anything at the time because it wasn't the time or the place to bring it up in front of everybody. But I brought it up after, one-on-one, in an email back and forth, then in a conversation over the phone. So he looks at the title of shihan in the association as senior instructor, and that's okay. You can use that title. Technically, you can take that title and use it any way you'd like to, in a sense. But to say that my brother was wrong for giving the answer that it meant master instructor was wrong too. And to call him out in front of other people on it was wrong. And I've noticed it a couple different times. As a matter of fact, he questioned me today on soke. What's the definition of soke? If you don't all know this, my living, what I do for a living is I'm a professional martial artist. I have a traditional karate school. I have now for going on 17 years. 16 years? Going on 17 years now. And I don't pretend by any means to have all the answers. but I know enough about the definitions of some of these meanings, some of these words. But he called out me on using a particular title, wrong, and he was incorrect. I politely informed him that I understand how you're looking at through the eyes of yourself and the association, but the majority of the people out there, if you look up the true definition of it, this is what it means. And to say that I was wrong is not technically right. Now, if he wants me to look at it in his meaning or his definition in regards to the association, no problem. Hey, if I don't like it, I can leave the association. And of course, it's not even anything to do with that. This is little details. It was just interesting that I've noticed him doing this quite a bit. Now that brings me up into the next part of the conversation. I remember years ago, it was probably over 10 years ago at this point. I probably was only 2 years, 3 years into my school. And I had a wife of one of my students who had been training with me for about a year. She was an assistant instructor or professor at the university in town. And I remember, nice lady, mom of a daughter that trained with me. But I remember getting an email from her, and it was a lengthy email one night. Apparently after class, I used the word queer. Now for me, queer had always, and if you look at the original definition of it, was weird. And that's how I used it. And I didn't use it a lot, but if something was weird, I remember I had said something weird at the end of class, and I used, that was kind of queer, wasn't it? And I guess living in a naive world in New England, in upstate New Hampshire, especially at this time, I just wasn't, I have nothing against anybody. And I don't, I didn't think of queer using it as a human, as towards somebody, other than it's weird. And she called me out in this email, went right up one side of me and down the other, and didn't even take in consideration the definition, the traditional definition of the sense. And knowing me, she should know by my character at that, my character, that I wasn't, in the way I said it, in the context that I said it, was nothing other than weird. Now, you could debate on whether or not we should use that word anymore. I don't, because I don't want to offend anybody. Even though sometimes I think it's silly that we have to change the way we address things and the way we address people so we don't hurt their feelings or offend them. And I could go into, this could be a long video. It really could. But you know what? I guess where I'm going with all this, for me at the end of the day, because I'm in the people business, I teach people, I like people. Yes, don't get me wrong, I like my alone time. It's one of the reasons I live out in the middle of the woods on a camp, and I like having my alone time. But I like to be part of a society. I like to be part of a village. I like to be part of a group of people. And in that group of people that I'm around, there's all walks of life and different beliefs, different religions, different races of people, just different cultures, the way they were brought up. So I because I want to be part of that, and I think it's important that we try to keep an open mind. I do try to a degree, try to be careful in how I choose my words. Now, do I get upset about all this sometimes? You're darn right I do. I think we've gotten way over the top with where we've gone in society with words and the way people get offended so easy and all that. I think it's crazy. And again, I'm not going to get into a ton of details about all this because this video would go on forever. But I guess at the end of the day, I guess where I'm going with this is, I had an open conversation with this gentleman today after twice that he called my brother out on one thing and he called me out on something. I think it happened again. But I politely, respectfully, because I respect this guy, said, hey, have you ever looked at it this way? And have you ever thought about when you tell somebody they're wrong, maybe you need to reword it and how you approach it and this and that. It turned out to be a great conversation, and I think it actually opened up his mind a little bit, even at his age, about the way he was addressing and the way he was looking at things sometimes. But hey, that's all I got today. I figured I'd throw that out there. We all run into this kind of thing, but at the end of the day, I try to choose to pick the high road on a lot of this stuff because I like people, and I think for the most part, the people, at least in my circle, are good people. And do I run into a few bad people here and there? Yeah, I do, but I don't stay part of that circle. And I don't keep them in my circle. And you can't please everybody, and you can't make everybody happy, and not everybody's going to like you. But I do try to do my best to try to be part of the village of people that I'm around all the time. And I think that's important. Hey, take care. We'll see you on the next video.